Well, hello, hello, and happy Thursday. Welcome to the Real Prosperity Project. This is our sixth episode, and we are so happy that you could join us today. Our Real Prosperity Project is about prosperity in all areas of life. It encompasses more than just financial success, it includes emotional, physical, social, and spiritual well being. We are Tanisha and Charlene, and we want to share our real life experiences with you, our lessons learned, overcoming challenges and moments of triumph. We are excited to share our journey with others to support in cultivating attitudes and beliefs that foster abundance and growth in your daily life. And this is to help develop a mindset of prosperity that not only benefits you, it also inspires those around you. So, welcome, welcome. I'm Tanisha Tearing, and this is.
Charlene Reedman on up in northern BC. We've got minus 16, got a lot of snow. Winter is here. Super excited. But you know what? With the snow, it's bright. It's bright outside. So I really like that. And at nighttime, same thing. It's just it just kind of brightens up the evening skies. So yeah, I'm really excited about winter because soon it will be done.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, to all of our listeners and viewers, we are so excited to present this week's episode. We have a special guest speaker. I know we've been threatening for weeks and we finally nailed down a time. So, we have the incredible Brent Locke here to talk to you guys about becoming an entrepreneur and really shifting your mindset, some of the main concerns and questions that people come up with. And Brent is a dinosaur in the age of entrepreneurs. He has been here since the beginning of time doing all sorts of different business models. And so we're so excited to have his input and his expertise here. Yeah, welcome, Brent. And Charlene, I'm going to just give you the stage for a moment too.
Okay, awesome. So, if everybody remembers, last week we talked about the concerns on starting a business. And that's why I was like, oh, we got to have Brent on because he's been through a few different models, like Tanisha
Mhm.
said. And I think he's finally found his niche, but I think he'll bring some very valuable tips and to our audience. And I'm excited. I've known Brent, oh my gosh, it's been a many, many years.
Careful
And
not to date us.
yeah, definitely. But I'll let Brent take it away and just share a little bit about himself, and then we'll dive into it.
Yeah, I mean, I thanks a lot, ladies, for inviting me. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, and I take entrepreneurialism really seriously, right? Because for a lot of people nowadays, it's the only way to get through some of the things that are happening in our world. And I was very, very fortunate as a young boy. I was born into entrepreneurship. Both my parents owned businesses. They've never had a boss. They've never worked for somebody else. And, my mom started out in hairdressing and then moved into retail. My dad was always in the oil field supply business, and he would build an empire, sell it to a big conglomerate, go across the street and compete against them. And he knew how to play the game on the entrepreneur side. But when I really woke up to it, I was about age 13. And I went over to my buddy's house after school, and it was like, "Where is everybody?" And he goes, "Oh, my parents are working." I said, "Well, let's go hang out there." And he looked at me really strange. He goes, "My mom works at the hospital. My dad works at the mill down in Taylor. Like, we kids aren't allowed there." And it was foreign to me because after school in my life, we didn't go home. We went to our parents' place of business. We stocked shelves, swept floors, counted money, did inventories. Like, we were put to work for that 3 to 4 hours after school before we got fed, right? And then it was okay. Shops closed at 6:30, 7 o'clock. Go home, meals, hockey practice, off to bed and repeat. So I didn't really understand that other people's parents had jobs where they checked in. Another adult told them when they worked, how much they got made, when they could eat, when they could pee, when they could take vacation. I didn't understand that. And then as I got older, I realized we were afforded some luxuries as kids that my friends weren't. Our family vacations were getting on a float plane and flying into these remote lakes in northern BC, Redfern Lake, these beautiful glacier lakes. And we'd spend a week out there, Swiss Family Robinson in it, right? We'd would kill our own food and fish for our own food. And there was cabins in there, but you had to chop your own wood and all the rest of it. Where my friends were driving 20 minutes up the road to go to the Charlie Lake campsite and hang out in a provincial campsite, right?
I know which one you're talking about, and that's not
yeah,
much
right.
as they
So
pay.
yeah, so it was a big difference in the, what did you do last summer? I felt almost like embarrassed telling kids at school that I'd had all these adventures when most of them didn't. And then it really hit home when my parents put in a swimming pool, 20 by 40, 3 to 8 feet deep in our backyard. And I didn't know I had so many friends, right? So it became the party place. It became where everybody hung out. But, I look at, the 60 or 70 kids that hung out at our place on a regular basis, and none of them had a swimming pool in their backyard, right? So I was gifted the entrepreneurial spirit early. I was able to go off to university. I got to study something I was passionate about at the time. I was a jock. I took a kinesiology degree. I took 5 years to do a 4-year program, right? So I'm not the best student. I teased that I got C pluses in high school and cheated off the pretty girl. But in business, being an entrepreneur, copying the right cat is actually a benefit, right? Whereas in school, cheating off the smart girl, I might have got in trouble for that. But that translated into my next entrepreneurial outset as I went to work for some people that owned a fitness center. And within 6 months, we'd increased their membership from 400 to over 4,000. I had started a personal training business inside of their fitness business. I was hiring and training trainers and showed up on a Thursday morning. I still remember the date, September 13th, 1992, and went to open the door. All the fitness equipment was gone.
Oh, wow.
And what we realized later in that afternoon, the 50 to 60 grand in the bank account that I'd helped them generate, they pulled that and they went back home to their hometown in the Okanagan and started a gym with the fruits of my labor. So my dad, again, being entrepreneurial, he made a deal with the owner of the business. We reinvested in some fitness equipment. And 19 years later, I sold the business for close to $1 million in a model that I thought I was an entrepreneur, right? When really I was just self-employed. But what I had, the freedoms that I had running my own business at age 23 is people would come in and say, hey, can I talk to the owner of the business or the manager? And at age 23, you're telling people you're the owner of the business, and they didn't believe me, right? So I was very fortunate to go from having a boss for about 6 months to being the boss for the next 20 years in a business that served me very well.
And would you say too, Brent, like when you had your fitness center and you said like, yeah, you're entrepreneurial, but you're very self-employed. Would that be because if your staff didn't show up, then you were there to fill in?
That was people ask me my least favorite thing about my business. And that would be having a 1 o'clock tea time and getting a phone call at 11 o'clock because the girl that was supposed to open the gym had too much fun partying the night before and was hungover and couldn't go open the gym. Right. So yeah, that was, when you're the boss and when you wear all the hats, right? I plunged toilets. I did the bookkeeping. I did the advertising. I did everything. But you know what the biggest thing was, Charlene? When I ran the sales counter, when I worked a shift, we'd make $2,000 or $3,000 in income. The minute I hired somebody to run my business, not the case, right? They'd make $300 or $400. So I found out early and often that I was married to my self-employed business. If I didn't work it, it didn't make the money that it would if I hired somebody. And I had some great staff, right? But it wasn't their business. They were just there to answer the phone, open the door, and smiled. They didn't understand that we had to make a certain amount of money a day to pay our overhead and pay our bills.
Yeah, and Brent, like he touched already, like the concerns of opening a business, he had to have that investment. So thankfully he had his dad to help, the time to put into that business and then the knowledge. So how to clean a toilet, how to pay people, how to hire people, how to fire people, right? So yeah, so that's already, touched out 3 out of 5 concerns of starting a business.
And a lot of those were trial by fire. Right. I went through 6 bookkeepers before I found somebody that actually knew what they were doing. And then I married her. Right. Like it was crazy that people could come in and do your books and not have a clue on how to do books for your business. I paid hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in taxation, in income tax to the government that I didn't need to pay because I, as a business owner, could never claim it. right? So luckily we got that money's back, but there was just lots of little things that were trial by fire, and most of that fire burnt up profits, right? It wouldn't have been bad if we had just made a mistake and learned, but making that mistake cost money, and you learn quickly not to make those mistakes twice.
Yeah, and that really emphasized the knowledge of a business. So if you're going in without that mentorship, it's just
Yeah.
like it's like
Yeah.
shooting at the hip, shooting from the
Well,
hip.
and for me to go across town and ask Brad Hall how to run his fitness center, like, he's not going to help me. Him and I were good friends, right? And I stole some of his marketing ideas, and I actually worked out there for a while because I didn't like working out in my own gym, because every time I went to work out, I could see the mirror was cracked, or ceiling tile needed replaced, or the bike was squeaking, and I ended up going to work instead of working out. But when I was at that other facility, I easily copied some, and I know he copied some of mine too, right? And when it worked, it worked. So there's a lot of that to where you can self-explore in what you have to do. But yeah, if I had had a phone where I could have picked up a gym owner's, and called his number and said, hey, here's what I'm experiencing, here's what we're doing, how could I change, or what could I do to make this work better? And I wasn't competing against that person, that would have been a massive benefit.
Yeah, 100%. Totally. I remember playing racquetball at your club, and it was a good time.
Yeah, and I mean, so here's the thing that you wake up to. I sold my gym about 19 years after. I was 23 when I got it, so I was in my early 40s when I sold my gym. I come across a pretty good chunk of money. Our Good Life Fitness came into Fort St. John and just pretty much bought us out. And you're in your early 40s with almost $1 million in your bank account, and it's kind of, what's next? So I did the unthinkable. I went back to work for a corporate Canada company selling photocopiers. And within about 3.5 years, they asked me to leave. I always met my quota. I always sold and serviced the client, but I could sell my quota in 10 days with the relationships that I had in my hometown, and I could go golf for the other 20. And I was on commission, right? So if I had wanted to make more, I could have worked more, sold more machines, but I had the best life ever. I would meet my quota, hit my bonus, and then I'd golf for 15 days of the month. And corporate didn't like that. I wasn't a team player. I wasn't leading the charge. I wasn't, hiring and training other salespeople to make their bottom line better when it wouldn't have increased my pay. So what happened? They started cutting my territory. They started taking away some of my government contracts. They took away the school board. They took away an oil and gas company that had 800 units, right? So all of a sudden now I'm having to sell the same quota. In fact, my quotas even started to creep up. I had to sell the same quota with less territory and less clients. And at that point, I could do it, but it was a way more work than I was willing to put in. And I just thought, you know what? I'm building their dream. Right? They've hired me to build their dream, never again. And I've done the employee thing. And for about 3.5 years, I look back, I don't know how I lasted that long.
It's crazy that a company that has a top salesperson, it is just mind boggling that they would push you out, basically.
I was number 3 in BC, number 7 in Western Canada, and the top 15 in all of Canada. And they just couldn't get enough out of me, right? It was just always more and more and more and more.
And I have a question too, because like you said, you were working on commission. Can you just talk a bit about what it means to work commission versus hourly, an hourly wage?
Here's my take on commission. If you're doing what you love, if you have a mad passion about the product or the service or the business that you're working, commissionable income should be a no-brainer to you, right? Because if I want to make more money, I just work harder at what I enjoy. Most people go to a job, they're trying to do the minimum not to get fired, right? And I mean, you worked retail before or an employee before. You get asked to do things that are maybe outside your job scope, and you don't get paid extra. How many people have ever trained another employee? How many times did that employee potentially take your position, right? How many times were you asked to do something to stay longer? I just had a girl join my team that worked for an oil field company. She was putting in 60 to 70 hours a week, and her salary was only for 40. If she had put that kind of time into any type of commissionable work, she would have reaped the reward. So, measure your hard, right? Some people say, oh, working for commission's hard. Well, it can be if you don't enjoy or don't trust what you have as a product or what you're providing or selling. But if you have that passion behind your product, you don't work a day in your life, because you get up in the morning and you go to bed at night and you just have a mission on focusing on what you love to do. But here's what I really love about commissional work. You can be in a position to own your own business or have your own identity within a business, or, be an agent for somebody, and you can set your schedule. So I've got 6 kids. 3 of them are adults, 3 of them are younger. They're busy people, right? All 3 of my older ones own and operate their own businesses. Surprise, surprise, right? And my younger 3 are probably the most entrepreneurial 3 little ones you'll ever meet, right? They talk a different story. We went into an ice cream shop the other day with the 3 little ones, and these teenage girls are behind the counter just running like crazy, building ice cream cones. And I said to my oldest, my 12-year-old, said, that'd be a pretty cool summer job. He goes, I don't want to work at an ice cream shop. He goes, I want to own an ice cream shop. He's 12. He's 12 years old. He already gets it, right? So
Yeah.
the commission thing, I think, scares people that have never done it, because they normally don't have the entrepreneur mindset. They're that check in 9 to 5, do the littlest, party on the weekend, repeat on Monday. And you know what you and I call that. That's the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
You're the most heavily taxed. You have the least amount of control, right? You can't phone the government and say, hey, don't take my deductions off my check. I got a dental bill for my kids and I want to buy a new car. Like, you have no control on the taxes you pay on your income. As an entrepreneur and somebody who's, owns their own business, I can use write-offs and tax deductions, and I can control the percentage of my income that I pay to the government. Right? And I'm not about, it's legal. I'm not doing anything that's outside the scope. I have an accountant that checks the balances and make sure. But, I've seen people in our industry make multiple 6 figures and pay 10 to 15 to 20% income tax on that, where a normal person working a job making 6 figures is forfeiting 48% of that. Thank you, Mr. Trudeau. That's about as political as I'll get right there, right? But the whole game is not the money you make, it's how much do you keep. And in commissionable sales, you can actually dictate what you keep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible that you say that, Brent. And I love that your children are entrepreneurial. I just had that same journey with my son. It was beautiful. We were at a race for the weekend. Stock car races, so much fun. And here's my little 7-year-old running around with sticks that are really unique that he picked up, and he's sticks for sale, sticks for sale. He made $4 on sticks that he picked up off the ground. Like, that's just, and encouraging that gives them the confidence to go out in the world and try something cool like entrepreneurship and learning about commissionable earnings.
So here's what I would do. I'd take that $4 and go buy a paint set. And the next time you go to a race, have them paint smiley faces on rocks and sell them for $3 each.
Ooh,
Turn the
look
$4,
at that.
turn the $4 into $100 worth of smiley rocks. People buy rocks with smiles on them all day long, right? So if they're willing to buy a stick for 10 cents, they're willing to buy a rock for $2.
Love it. I will give him that suggestion. He will thank you, Brent.
And that's the way my mom and dad thought, right? I'll tell a quick story. I went into old Marshall Wells. They had all the agricultural stuff upstairs. They had a little bit of sporting goods and some home stuff downstairs. And they brought in this brand new Spalding ball glove. And I had made the All-Star team that year. And I thought, man, I need this new glove. This is going to change the game. And it was $150. When I was 13, most gloves were, $39, $49, $50. $125 or $150 for a ball glove was excessive. And I went to my parents and said, I want this ball glove. And they said, well, you know what? You're going to have to earn it. So my parents gave me $30. And it's like, well, that's not going to cover the cost of the glove. Like, what am I supposed to do? Go to the casino and bet on black? Like, but what they said was, no, go buy $30 worth of fuel. Here's a jerry can. Buy $30 worth of fuel, take the lawnmower and go up and down the street offering to mow people's lawns for $15, $20. Well, 7 lawns later, I had my $150 and I went and bought my glove. Here's the caveat. I still have that glove today, close to 47 years later. And it's still a prized possession of mine because I know how hard I worked to get it. And I think that's where the employee has a different mindset. They don't feel they have to work hard for their check and they're entitled to getting paid because they're putting in time. But maybe if they understood that they could provide more value or they could provide value for themselves, right, that money would come in more abundantly. We know the old saying, right? You can go work hard and build your dream, or somebody will hire you to build theirs. And that's a gut punch for me. When I first saw that slide in our presentation, it was like, I will never build somebody else's dream unless it actually serves myself. And, that's what I love about our business. By serving others and helping other people do the right thing, love our product, love our platform, right? I don't work a day in my life. And by serving others and helping other people have what I have, I get everything that I need and want. So
it's so true. I'm sure you guys see this is that instant gratification, right? Mm-hmm. So people are like, oh, I've been doing, learning and training and blah, 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 but nothing's showing. They feel that nothing's showing for it yet.
Let's talk about that, right? If you've got teenage kids in high school and you're thinking, what's the path for them? Right? Are they going to post-secondary education? Are they going into the trades? Are they going in for a degree? I have no issue with any of those things, right? But be prepared coming out of that you're going to be groomed to have a job, okay? Here's the caveat. People are coming out spending tens of thousands of dollars, taking 3, 4, 5-year programs and coming out and getting jobs that are nowhere near what they're qualified for. Yeah. Right? Like they're overqualified. So overqualified people scare employers. I can't go get a job tomorrow at Canadian Tire because they see my resume and go, the minute something better comes along, he's gone. So we're not going to invest in him, right? People nowadays have to dumb down their resumes. I don't even think I could get a job. I could send out probably 10,000 resumes today, and I don't think I get a call back. Because I'm unemployable. There's just so many things that I wouldn't do in that arena. So for young people, interview your future. It's one of the most misguided things that employees and entrepreneurs, right? You want to go sell cars at a car dealership? Great job. Great way to get networking. Great way to learn how to deal with people. Great way to, fill a need. But go interview somebody who's sold cars for 30, 40 years. Do you want their lifestyle? I'm going to guess you're not going to want it because it doesn't change. I can sell cars for 40 years. I still live in the same old house. I still drive the same old car. I still take the same vacation. Nothing changes, right? So to have that agent of change, you've got to use your intelligence, right? The people who are fearful of changing or fearful of doing something different, they become comfortable. And if you're a spiritual person, that's super dangerous. That's where the devil gets in. That's where bad things happen, right? And I've had that experience twice in my life. I don't give marriage advice. I'm twice divorced. Both times in both relationships, this guy got comfortable with where he was at. And my ex said, no, I'm not staying there. I've got dreams for bigger. I want dreams for more. I'm expecting more. And I take that 100% on me. Now, they had some issues and some play in that too. But the biggest thing that I find with people is who kicked the hope out of you? Who stopped you from dreaming? Who told you something and you believed it? And sometimes, you know who the worst enemy is in our own world? It's ourselves. What do we say to ourselves that limit our belief of who we can become? Okay. Now, I'm a little bit of a spiritual person. I don't care what realm you go in that, but everybody has that spark inside them. You've heard the quote, what we fear most is not our weakness. What we fear most is that we can be unlimitedly great. It's our unlimited potential that scares us. And for most people, it's easier to step back than it is to step forward, right?
Yeah, that goes into when we were kids and we had these big, humongous dreams. When I grow up, I want to be, right? Then what happens is, like you say, we get caught up in that comfort zone, I guess. And then we start to shrink we don't grow our income to build that dream. We shrink our dreams to fit our income. Yeah. And that's a block.
And sadly, the government has a program that's schooled people to do that. If
Yeah.
you've invested $1 into an RRSP, you've told the government that I'm willing to work at this tax bracket while I'm able, and I want to retire to less.
Right.
Well, why would I work 40 years to build something and then step back and have a lesser lifestyle than I created when I worked? Right? I want more in retirement. I want unlimited travel. I want to play golf on any golf course that I want. I want to spoil my kids, and now I'm going to be a grandpa. I want to spoil my grandkids, right? So there's some mechanisms in play, right? What do we hear that you should do in retirement? Downsize. No, I want a bigger house in retirement because I want all 6 of my kids to come for Christmas. How can I have 6 kids and all their kids for Christmas if I live in a 1-bedroom apartment in a seniors complex? Right? Do you know, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, but do you know the number one cause of addiction is loneliness? And as we get older, we get more singular, we get more sheltered, we get put off to the side. And people who get put off to the side or get singular early in their life, bad things happen. Alcoholism, drugs, pornography, gambling, all those addictions creep in when you become singular. When you're an entrepreneur, you're in a team environment. You're around a lot of like-minded people. Take a look at all the folks we hang out with, even from the top right down to the training associate. Everybody's got that spark. Everybody's got that jump. Nobody has to worry about somebody with a drinking problem or an addiction or a depression, right? This is the cocoon that you build your wings in. And for most people, they get on the bus, they go to work, they work 8 hours, 10 hours, they get on the bus, they go home, they sit in front of the TV, they have a beer, they watch the football game, and they repeat. Well, bad things are going to creep into your life if that's what your life's about, right? So having that courage and then having somebody believe in you enough that you can do it are 2 of the biggest factors of moving forward. And entrepreneurialism isn't for everybody. I want to preface that. Okay. There are some people who are just better employees, and we need these people, right? We need people to be servers. We need people to dig ditches. We need people to take our garbage to the garbage dump. But what I'm saying is, if you're dissatisfied, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and where I was going to do anything different. Right? The company I'm with now, they could have sold fake rubber dog poop out of a van down by the river if it afforded me the income, the lifestyle, and the service to others that I could do. Right? The product and the service has very little to do with. Now, if it's a good product and service, you're way ahead of the game, right? But it's your spirit, it's your conviction, it's that ability to go out and shape lives and give people the same opportunity that you have, right? So people get all crazy about, MLMs and all these things. They're not perfect, they're just better, right? We still have our faults within our business of things that don't work. But when you look at the corporate system or the go to school, get good grades, go to university, get a degree, and then get a job that pays you half what you're worth and can't pay your student loans, and then your dreams and goals shrink to be, I sat with a couple the other day in their 30s, 2 kids. You know what their dreams and goals were? To get out of debt.
Yeah. It's so
I said
true.
to them, what about fun stuff? Oh, we're never going to have money in our lifetime for fun stuff. Really?
Yes.
No vacations, no bigger houses, no celebrations. Like, you're resigned to getting out of debt and dying. And that's sad, right? That's
That's
sad.
one thing I've really noticed sitting with clients over the last couple of years when we gather up, their information. It's basic living
Mm-hmm.
expenses, and there's very rare that there's actually an entertainment
Right.
portion of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know what the really scary thing is, Charlene? There are people out there who are the 1%. There are people out there living their best life, living an unlimited retirement. I have permission to talk to my mom's, portfolio and account, right? When my dad passed away, most of his investments moved to my mom. And my mom at an age of about, I think when she was She was about 79 when my dad passed away, 78 when my dad passed away. She's got more money set up in a proper way where she can't spend the interest that her money is making. So
That's
there are
crazy.
people out there that have those 1% style, retirements. My mom will never die in a hospital. will move the hospital into her house when the time comes, right? She took the three kids and herself to three ball games in Colorado when the Jays were there. We spent about $14,000 over that course of time. We come home, her investment was up 18,000, right? So people who have money have opportunities. And this is the part that we have to teach. This is the part that people have to understand. There is a way to win. Go drive anywhere. Go drive through the very wealthiest areas. You'll see the motorhomes. You'll see the three cars in the driveway. You'll see the big house. There's wealth out there.
Oh, yes.
Success leaves clues. It's the clueless people who don't ask the questions that get left behind, right? So interview your future. Go hang out where the wealthy are. I'll tell one quick story. We did a big fundraiser with our church and our golf tournament and all the rest of it. And there's a few millionaires in Fort St. John, right? And they all sit together at the same table. And I realized that my name tag was at that table one year. So I sit down and I look around the room. It's millionaire, millionaire, millionaire. At my table, millionaire, 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 millionaire. And I turned to the guy that owns the Canadian Tire. His name's Russ. I said, Russ, I think I'm sitting at the millionaire table. He goes, well, where do you usually sit? I said, I'm certainly not a millionaire. He goes, well, where do you usually sit? Well, I usually sit over there with those entrepreneurial guys. He goes, and that's why you're not a millionaire. Right?
So for our
So you
listeners
have to
right
have
now,
those,
that is a nugget. You need to write that down.
you have to have the associations, those 5 or 8 people that you hang around regularly, you become them. So if you're not in an association-based business where you can grow and lead, when Chad or Steve have a party at their house, a Christmas party or birthday, I never miss those. I love not being the smartest guy in the room. I love going to those things and having everybody. I'm the low guy on the totem pole, right? I'm the least income earner. But I put myself in those environments every chance I get. In our company, you fight for trips, right? I've missed one here this year, and that's the first one I've missed in almost 7 years of doing this business. And it burnt my butt that I'm not going to be in Costa Rica with the people that are going, right? Yeah. So, you got to fight for the smaller rooms. You got to fight for those associations. You got to fight for the not being so many people want to be the smartest person in the room. And if you look around in an environment and you're the smartest person in the room, you don't want to stay there long.
No, and that was something I learned through Bob Proctor when I started doing his coaching program. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to be the smartest person? Then I'm like, oh, now I get it. So yeah, you always are searching out for the next room.
Yeah, and that was something I learned very late in the game. Charlene, you knew me when I ran my business. I walked around like I owned the world when I owned that business because everybody answered to me, and it wasn't always good. Right? You make some relationships and you ruin some. But when you're in an environment where everybody's trying to lift you up, where everybody wants you to have what they have, right? If they're winning and they tell you the ingredients and the formula to do it, well, now it's just whether or not you're coachable, right? What does John Wayne say about life? He says, life is hard, but life is even harder when you're stupid. Right? So we've got to be in a position that when we get nuggets or we get opportunities, let's not be the stupid person. Let's be the person that's open-minded to look at it. You can still say no, right? I love the Mark Zuckerberg story. He invited 10 of his college mates back to his dorm to explain a concept on something called the Facebook. Guess how many of his 10 buddies showed up? 3. Guess how much those 3 people make today?
Yes.
They're billionaires. Exactly. Right now, I'm not saying that every opportunity will become Facebook, but those other 7 guys didn't even have a chance to say no because they didn't even know what they were looking at. They didn't even see it. Right?
What's that one saying you about a mind is like a parachute?
Yeah, it only works when it opens.
That's
right?
It, yeah.
So you can, if you have a closed mind going into something, it could be the fountain of youth, and all you have to do is jump in the water. But if you have a closed mind, well, I don't want to live forever. I'm not getting wet. Okay, right? Yeah. The ability to change, grow, and improve is actually a measurement of a person's intelligence. So when we're out recruiting and we're looking for good people, I start looking for people who are extremely smart, right? Because if they're intelligent, they're more likely to change or modify or grow or move into something that they have no idea about. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but when I first got introduced to our business, right, I was smart enough to know there was something there. I didn't know what it was, but I was smart enough to know that I need to get more information. And then I went like a dog hounding a coon. I was just like, I'm getting that raccoon because like I'm going to figure out how this thing works. I sat with the CEO of the company, Greg Sternacka. I sat with him for over an hour in Vegas. He was supposed to give me 20 minutes and he gave me an hour. And he pretty much opened his books to his business to me and said, this is how, our company works. So be the squeaky wheel, right? Be the person who asks all the questions and be the person, like you said, has an open mind. I've looked at a ton of opportunities and went, nah, I see what that is, not interested, right?
Yeah. That's awesome, Brent. I was going to ask you for, some tips for our listeners, but if there's just one more really, you just gave away a whole bunch of gold nuggets. So yeah. If there's just one more that you could
let's do it. Yeah, let's do it by age group. If you're 13 to 22, you need to interview your future. Okay? Whatever you want your lifestyle to be, find out what that person does for a living and go do it better than them, and you'll have everything that they have. If you're, say, 25 to 40 and you don't like the path you're on, know that now is the time to change. Now, even if you change 4 or 5 times until you find what it is for you, now's the time to change. You're young enough, you can recover, you've got all the energy, right? And if you're somebody more like me who starts like 45 years or 40 and older, it's never too late to do something different. We've got people in our business starting at 69, 71 years old, getting their license, serving people, self-pensioning themselves with residual income. We haven't even talked about residual income, right? If you're not making money while you sleep, if you're not building something that pays you forward, that's why the music industry is so romantic. One hit wonder, baby. If you can sing one song and it goes to the top 10 and it plays for the rest of your life, you're set. That's why when you see these talent shows on TV, you get people on there who can't sing. They're so delusional that they can sing. They want to make that one hit wonder so that they're set financially. They'll come on and they'll sound like, a cat scratching a screen door, right? And you're going like, why did that person ever think they could sing? They're horrible. But they're looking for that one hit song. They're looking for that one thing that can create that passive income going forward, right? Be something that builds something. In our business, when we help our clients with a couple different types of product, that product pays us the longer we service the customer. So the residual income, you can get it in real estate, you can get it in a whole bunch of different forms, but the passive and residual income, that would be something I would be teaching kids more than how to get a degree. I think having a real clue on how passive income works versus what a degree will allow me to do, I'd burn the degree and want to know how passive income worked way quicker than, that. It's amazing too, right? And I'll leave you with this. How many people will commit 2, 3, 4, 5 years to an education with absolutely no guarantee of a rate of return when they go into the workforce? But they won't spend 4 or 5 hours a week to build something on the side that could change their stars going forward. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's that intelligence thing. The more intelligent a person is, the more willing they are to change. And if people are fighting change, it's probably because, one, they've been beaten down, or they got the self-talk they have is horrible, or two, they've just never been in an environment where somebody would lift them up, show them their gifts and blessings, show them, like, I believe in some of, our people in our business, I believe in them more than they believe in themselves. I have leaders who believe in more in me than I believe in myself. And you need that constant surroundness of those people. So go interview your future, never too late to change. Get into the passive income game and build the life you want to have. It's out there.
Wow. This was so good, Brent. So good. Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Anytime.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. And to all of our listeners, what I am really taking away from this is it's your associations, it's your mindset, and it's about how much passion and where you direct that passion. Okay? Because if you're not careful of what you're speaking, you're going to speak that into existence. So you've got to be careful where you're putting that energy. And if you want a specific life, go after it. Because if you put that intensity in there, you're going to get it no matter what. Right. And so thank you, Brent, for all of your nuggets. And anybody that has anything to say or questions asked, put it in the comments, reach out to us on social media. We're always here to help, always here to answer. And if you're looking for the right business model for yourself, or you need some guidance on how to choose that, reach out to myself or Charlene, or if Brent Locke happens to be in your circle. I mean, great people to get mentorship from, and we'd love to hear from you. So, yeah, again, thank you for joining us. And Brent, it's just been a pleasure. And Charlene, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks,
ladies.
guys.
Enjoyed it.
Awesome. Bye for now. See you next Thursday.